For over 20 years, One Piece fans thought they'd already seen the ceiling of Luffy's power. They were wrong. Gear 5 isn't Nika's final form, it's only halfway there. And Oda already wrote it down, hidden inside a line the anime added that doesn't even exist in the manga. Aimu came down to Elbaph in person. He didn't send an admiral. He didn't send the Dressrosa. He went himself. And the question nobody's asking is this: what did he see in Luffy that scared even the 5 elders enough to try and stop him from going? Chapter 1179. After years of theories, Oda finally brought Aimu into the battlefield in person. Not a flashback. Not a distant shadow, Aimu in the flesh, tearing open the sky above Elbaph Castle and releasing a wave of Conqueror's haki strong enough to knock out everyone nearby. We already knew, since Onigashima, that Aimu has existed for centuries, that he's the true ruler of the world behind the Dressrosa, and that he's directly tied to the empty throne in Mary Geoise. We also knew, since chapter 1178, that he used the reverse dome, the technique that possessed the giants of Elbaph and turned them into demonic creatures. Here's what we also knew: against Luffy and Loki, the reverse dome simply didn't work. No effect at all. But here's the part most people scrolled right past without even noticing. But here's the thing: most people skip right past Aimu, the single most powerful and feared being in the entire world of One Piece, tried to control Luffy and failed. And the reason behind that connects a scene from almost 20 years ago to a chapter released this week, but that's where things start getting strange. Chapter 385, one of the most forgotten scenes in the entire Water 7 saga. Jabra, fighting Luffy, drops a line almost nobody remembers: devil fruit users literally carry a demon inside their own body, and 2 demons can't occupy the same space without destroying each other. 19 years later, in Elbaph, that line comes back with full force. Chopper, in Monster Point, literally punches the demonic entities out of the possessed giants. That's not a coincidence. That's Oda paying off an old narrative debt. That's exactly why the reverse dome didn't work on Luffy. His body's already occupied by Nika's fruit. You can't put a second demon where one already lives. And here's the clue I find most unsettling in this entire arc: the Dressrosa themselves tried to stop Aimu from going to Elbaph. They wanted to send an admiral. They wanted to go in his place. There was fear in that room, and Aimu ignored every single one of them. Why would the single most powerful being in the world of One Piece need to be protected by his own subordinates? The answer, I believe, lies in a pattern Oda has repeated since the very beginning of the series. Every time the main villain of a major arc shows up, Luffy loses first. Crocodile in Alabasta, CP9 in Water 7, Moria in Thriller Bark, a single punch from Kaido the very first time they meet in Wano. None of those defeats were accidents, they were fuel. Gear 2 and Gear 3 were born out of Water 7. Nightmare Luffy was born out of Thriller Bark. Gear 4 was born out of Dressrosa. And in Wano, Luffy literally died for a moment and awakened Gear 5, and this is where Oda may have left his biggest clue. Right now in Elbaph, Luffy is in Gear 5, but he's still fragile in this form. In every fight since the awakening, he burns through energy to fast. In chapter 1178, he used just 2 techniques and was already at his limit. That wasn't just some random detail. It was the very last piece of information before Aimu showed up. Oda put it there on purpose. Luffy drained of energy, right at the exact moment the most powerful being in the world decides to appear in person. The power gap in this moment is absurd. Aimu's mere arrival, wounded from the journey, blood dripping from his mouth, already knocked people out with haki alone. There's no scenario, in Luffy's current state, where he beats Aimu on equal footing. The defeat is, for me, practically inevitable. And following the pattern we just laid out, that defeat is going to be the trigger for the biggest evolution in Luffy's entire story. This is where the anime drops a clue that changes everything. Episode 1145. Toei added a line that doesn't exist in the manga. Dressrosa Warcury looks directly at Luffy and says he will stop him from reaching his original form, not a new transformation. Nika's original form. In the manga, that line simply doesn't exist. Warcury just attacks and gets intercepted by Dory and Brogy. No dialogue whatsoever. Toei doesn't add lines like that on its own. Every change to the original material is supervised by Oda himself. So that line is only there because he allowed it or because he told them to put it there personally. I think this completely changes how we should read Gear 5 going forward. The Gear 5 we know white hair, elastic body, bending reality itself might just be the hybrid form of Nika's fruit. The original form is still coming. And here's the detail almost no fan connects. Every Zone Devil Fruit user has at least 3 forms: human, hybrid, and the animal's full form. Kato has 2 different hybrid forms. Rob Lucci switches between versions of his own form. Chopper, with the simplest fruit possible, developed 7 variations using rumble balls. Luffy's fruit is a mythical zone, probably the most special one that exists in the entire story. The world government hid this fruit for 800 years, renamed it. Did everything possible to make sure the world never found out what it was truly capable of. And here's the question nobody seems to be asking: if an ordinary fruit can have multiple forms, what can a fruit erased from history for 8 centuries actually do? Now look at the naming pattern Oda has built throughout the entire series. Monkey D, Luffy Monkey right there in his name. Kong Rifle, Kong Gatling, King Kong Gun, over King Kong Gun. And the move that took Kato down for good, Bajrang Gun, a direct reference to Bajrang, one of the names of Hanuman, the monkey god of Hindu mythology, and the similarities don't stop at the name. As a child, Hanuman saw the sun and tried to eat it, mistaking it for fruit. Luffy literally ate the sun god's fruit. Hanuman is the son of the wind god and dragon. Luffy's father is constantly surrounded by mysterious winds. Something the live action even confirmed by showing that the winds in Logtown came from him. Suddenly, a completely different picture starts to emerge. Hanuman is described as an all-white figure, capable of changing size and shape at will. Gear 5 is entirely white. And Luffy has already created giant-sized forms, even becoming fully gigantic in one of them. But there's an even older version of Hanuman, a beastly form, almost unrecognizable, where raw power takes over and reason disappears completely, and Oda already planted this clue years ago. Chapter 704, in Dressrosa, a fighter in the Colosseum mentions hearing a rumor that the Straw Hat was a giant over 8 meters tall. At the time, it looked like nothing more than a random joke. Years later, against Kato, Luffy literally creates a giant form. The rumor was real. And right after Wano ends, another rumor surfaces, this time from a pirate in red-haired Shank's crew. Luffy is like a demonic monkey, completely out of control, and I believe we're being set up to see exactly that very soon. The original Gear 5 sketches, revealed in the Road to Laugh Tale special, show that Oda always planned multiple variations of the form, including the giant version. It wasn't improvised. It was part of the plan since Dressrosa, and the giants of Elbaph, who already recognized Luffy as Nika through Dory, and Brogy and Egghead hold the oldest records about Nika's true form. A silhouette that's more savage, more primitive, closer to a primate than to the elastic figure we know today. This completely changes what's coming in the final saga, in the Elbaph arc, and in the confrontation with Imu. If the defeat against Imu is the trigger like it has been in every previous arc, the form born from that defeat could be exactly this: bigger, more feral, with power far beyond anything we've ever seen from Luffy. And here's the problem with all that power: there's a real chance Luffy could lose control completely. Chopper, whenever he took on Monster Point, his most beastly form, also lost control, because the fruit's will was stronger than him. Now imagine that multiplied by a mythical fruit the world government spent 800 years trying to hide and contain. Every time Luffy unlocks a new power, the first phase is chaos. It happened with Gear 2, it happened with Gear 4, and recent rumors suggest it's about to happen again, just on a completely different scale. Personally, I think Oda's been building toward this since Dressrosa, maybe even since chapter 385. And if I'm right, the moment this gets confirmed is going to break the fandom in half. If this theory is right, it changes how we're going to read every single chapter of Elbaph from here on out. But I want to know what you think. Did Oda plan this from the start, or is this just one giant coincidence that fits a little too well? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you want to dig deeper into the reverse dome and what it actually does to the giants, I'll link the next video right here.